thing. So we stand in front of Dollar Tree and basically
such as this thing here.
All right, I'm excited to have a guest.
metal right here, of course, everyone is. Cuba is like they're under a dictator. RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 YouTube talk show. We are live for a Thursday night edition of the People's Talk Show. Excited to be back and looking forward to connecting as always. It's a couple stories I want to touch on. I was kind of torn in between which direction I wanted to go tonight, whether I talked about the meeting in Europe about spreading democracy at the same time they're concerned and worried about China and Russia collaborating, creating a new world order. And also here on the home front in reference to a lot of individuals that deserve some props, as well as, some acknowledgement for the opportunities that they've invented, created, or things like that in reference to things that could have worked out well had they not been brought to a halt. And I'll talk more about that in reference to some of the inventions that have been stifled due to the fact that big tech, oil industry, all that other stuff don't want the type of technology to get out. So therefore, it won't probably see the light of day. But there's people out there that have the know-how and the ability to create. Anyway, let me check in via chat as always. Want to make sure I acknowledge a couple people. Appreciate you for blessing me with your presence. Running a little bit behind just because I was, trying to figure out what I was going to, talk about tonight other than just the primary things. But as we give it a second, if you are new to the program, definitely hit the thumbs up button, show your support for the channel. And we'll make sure everybody has a chance to connect. So if you haven't already, click that bell notification as well as the subscribe button. And hopefully you'll be notified when we go live or when videos are posted. So, I just wanted to continue to piggyback on what I talked about a little bit earlier in reference to, a relatively all-time lows in trust and how it's only going to get worse. And it's interesting how politicians in particular are talking about continuing to promote and to push for more democratic policy and cooperation amongst nations. And they're painting it in the sense that democracy is threatened from what's happening with Russia and China and everything like that. And it's just like, it's complete confusion. But then again, one of the former NATO secretary generals or whatever slipped up or, just outright spoke about the New World Order and things of that nature. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. And also for those that might be coming in at some point, wearing some new merch. I call it my Rise and Grind for the King. And so this plays into my more so just the spiritual essence of things, trying to create opportunities for people to be able to represent their king and share their faith via a simple concept as a shirt, which will definitely open up opportunities for people, I'm sure, to, share their testimony or whatnot. So definitely looking forward to putting more ideas and thoughts and things of that nature towards products that give people a chance to wear the message as well as be a blessing to the channel if they would like. So more information there. I'll give that in a moment. But anyway, hope everyone's doing well. Let me jump in real quick. Let me see. We got low blood pressure. Rolf, we got checking in. Solo. Good point there, man. And that's one thing that is not talked about at all. Like, the constitutional republic angle is not even used or referenced just because we've been lulled to sleep to where it's very seldom, if at all, any politician or representative of at any level in government mention anything about a constitutional republic. And when they do, or if it happens to be brought up, then of course the mainstream narrative and as well as whoever's interviewing them usually, they label them as like a patriot / libertarian / one of those far right wing people. So using the words constitutional republic gets frowned upon these days to where that's why it's not even mentioned. So people settle for the words democracy because that's the primary angle at which all governments approach this current government structure, which is nothing of the such. Is more of a technocracy bureaucracy, fascist government, whatever you want to name it. There's lots of words we can use, but it's definitely not operating for the people, of course. Let me see here. Rolf says, U.S. empire, freedom, and democracy is not wanted by any country because the U.S. empire is about stealing gold, oil, and natural resources. The U.S. empire's word games are I gotta scroll down, are well and truly over 100%. And that's where I think there's more mention of the political structure right now by the alleged Western governments, just because they have lost their grip, because more people are pissed than ever. And it's hard to continue to promote lies because people can feel more of the pinch now. So you can't talk about economic recovery. And I got a little video I'm gonna share with you guys in a minute, and go from there. LBP says, Mike, saw you on Morgan Report. Very cool. Put in a good word for me. Definitely, man. Yeah. So having a chance to connect with Dave was fun, man. I had a chance to share some of my visual aids and whatnot and share my 2 cents on what things are and where we're headed. But anyway, we got Ariel, we got Rolf, we got 5, 6, 7, 8. That's a lot of numbers, man. Jojo checking in. That's a lot of numbers in that handle right there. But it says New World Order, clever people. They can print meat. They can print meat and fish in Israel. Money printing, food printing, organ printing, and the sky is the limit. Yeah, that's of concern. And I'm not. Well, I didn't share a video with you guys, but there's a video where I think I put in the Telegram. I think it was about some type of fish bought from a grocery store, which is a sponge. And so if you got, I think I put it in Telegram. I think I did. Anyway, okay, let me jump right in. So I want to just continue, or just shine more light on the little graph that I put out earlier from Pew Research, just referring to how trust, as right now, trust in the federal government is steadily declining, and it's not going to get any better just because more people are not feeling comfortable or confident in their representatives of any kind, because people are realizing that they say one thing, but they do the complete opposite. And at the point they realize that all along it was just a farce, it was not real, it was all just an illusion of choice, then I think that's when all hell gonna break loose. And I just feel that at some point, possibly before all stuff hits the fan entirely, there will be more of an uprising and an outcry from Main Street about what's happening, which could be a good thing to force some real conversations to take place, to where people really start talking about, hey, I don't really think, I'm talking about on the local level, from the municipal county around you to the governor, you name it, to where people are going to start talking about, hey, we need to address, the primary issues here locally, so that those local issues can then have a much bigger impact when you go represent me, in DC type of thing. And so there's going to be a lot more of a pushback pretty soon. And I think that's a good thing, because we got a lot of things we got to clear up, a lot of things. But anyway, so this is a little visual aid here. And, this happens to come upon the fact I, stumbled across this right here. And so let me see it. There's the 5th Copenhagen Democracy Summit, which took place yesterday, or today rather, and tomorrow. So it's like a 2-day event that a lot of world leaders, I think we need to stop calling people leaders, because they're nowhere near leading any damn thing. And so, but just for the sake of playing along with it, political personalities is a much better word. And so it says from all over the world, such as Danish Prime Minister, former NATO Secretary General, former President of the United States, Barack Obama, the President of Ukraine, Zelensky, the Lithuanian Prime Minister, and a lot of business individuals as well. They all met together. And so it says the event will represent the Democracy Perception Index of 2022, which covers more than 75% of the world's population. And so whatever this Democracy Perception Index is, it's a dang lie. We all know that. And so I wasn't even aware of a democracy index. Let me just check and see what this democracy index is. So this is something from the Alliance of Democracies. So they got to just use the word democracy like it's just a play on words, like it's literally a joke. So not quite sure what constitutes a democracy when West governments call all the shots and all the smaller states end up being the puppet nations that go along with it. But anyway, it's all fun and games until it's not. But to keep it going, what really caught my attention was just this little video clip here. And at this current moment, not many people overall are really, feeling this individual anymore, just because, more people realize that he really hasn't done anything for them, and especially this country. But it's just been more of the same, regardless of what party or what anything of that nature. But I just want to just share a little bit of a clip right quick, and just small little snippet. Just listen to these people lie out their damn
I
teeth.
had the chance to not just. It is good to see everybody. I could not be more excited to have the chance to not just see you guys on these little boxes, but to see you in person and share with you and learn from you. You should know that even before the most recent tragic events that we've been seeing in Ukraine, I had been pushing for us to do something in Europe. With COVID, we haven't had the chance to interact live. The first time that I traveled back to Europe was during the climate summit in Glasgow. It gave me a chance to see some of our climate change leaders, and it was a reminder to me that
So right when he said climate change leaders, I'm not really interested. But anyway, so I just thought that was fun, just because he's over there, and of course we're told they're meeting, not exactly what they're talking about and how exactly do they continue to promote and spread democracy. But here are some clues as to the concerns, and I think why it's so important for the Western nations to now really begin concentrating on promoting democracy, as trust in the developed world is eroding in reference to how governments are not able to meet any type of needs whatsoever, never could. And let me see, I closed too many windows. Give me a second here. So let me put back up in here. Give me 1 second. Yeah, so this is just my little anyway. So here is what I wanted to talk about. So this is also the NATO general who was speaking as well. And when I saw this earlier, I'm like, oh, okay, this is definitely something worth just bringing light on, because, they are speaking and meeting and talking about how they can further strengthen their ties, and they're disguising it as talking about how to spread democracy. But in actuality, they may be feeling some type of pressure or threat from Russia and China's collaboration and their quest, or their request rather. I think it was back in February or March when one of the Chinese representatives came out saying that they are calling for their own new world structure. And so, you got two different, East, West, all looking for something new. Who's going to lead this newness? And that's what I think a lot of this, I'm sure this conversation was about. But just give an idea here real quick. Scroll down to the very bottom. That's not him right there. It says, this is that Anders Rasmussen, former Danish prime minister. He says, I think we are approaching a new world agenda where we see two camps, an autocratic camp led by China and a democratic camp led by the U.S. And so autocratic, democratic, once again, not operate in the best interest of their people for sure. We know China's definitely not. And on the West, it's hard to cover up the fact that they can't get away with lying to us anymore the way they have. And so it says here, that new world agenda in two camps will be an inevitable development, a phase we will have to go through to put more pressure from the Democratic camp, putting more pressure from the Democratic camp on the autocrats to convince them that constructive cooperation is better, also for them, than destructive confrontation. And so it says we should remind ourselves that democracies represent 60% of the global economy. Right. So 60% here. And then the article I just read from, at the very bottom, it says 75. So, I don't think they really know what it is, just because it's a play on words. There's nothing really there of substance. And just to show you how much trust is lacking, it looks like, I'm going to share a video with you real quick about this young lady here took to the street. And I thought this was very interesting. So check this out.
The Biden administration has been telling us that America is in one of the best spots that it's been financially and economically.
Since I took office, families are carrying less debt. A recent survey from the Federal Reserve found that more Americans feel financially comfortable than any time since the survey began in 2013.
Comfortable? Look at the gas prices. They ain't comfortable to me. Hell no.
Joe Biden says that we're in a strong economy, that we're doing great. Do you believe that?
No, we are not financially stable, comfortable, or nothing like that. But when Trump was in office, I was feeling really good.
Really?
Yes, Trump.
So Joe Biden too much? You'd rather have Trump back?
I want Trump back. I'm not for Biden. I'm not for him.
Ain't no comfortability around nowhere. It really hurts America with the gas prices because we have to get to work. And if we can't get to work and we got to spend all our money on gas that we going to work on, that means you can't pay your bills. So it's an endless circle of endless debt.
Everybody gonna go in debt, sooner or later, because what's happening now is everybody is feeling the heat from, every angle of the society. So yeah, I feel like, no, it's not true.
All right, so I'll spare you guys that. But if you guys want to see the full clip, I'll put it on a Twitter account. But anyway, so this is just this is what's happening in Main Street now. The lies are hard to hide. You can't hide behind the lies anymore. Just because you can't go on TV, national television, and say everything is fine and good when people in the streets are not experiencing that whatsoever. And so, because of that level of uncomfortability, it's going to lead to more mistrust in political figures because we know there's nothing they can do about it. It's too late. Now it's a matter of how can we get people to respond in a constructive way where some type of change can be brought about in time so that when things come crashing down, the government structure that's in place now and the same puppets that are in place now aren't the ones that are immediately giving suggestions that will ultimately keep them in the same position they're in now, which is they're not doing nothing. And so, yeah, we need a great shakeout. We need a political shakeout. And so, as far as, how, what, where, when, I'm all ears to that. But it's hard to hide the lies. And we know change is needed. And of course, a lot of the things have to play out the way they are playing out so that things can move forward and we'll get to the, we'll get to the final destination of how all this stuff plays out. But anyway, so that was kind of like, something I want to touch on. But, before I open the phone lines, I want to talk about something else real quickly, just because I wanted to give props as I start off talking about giving props to some inventors who have created things that if it was able to get into the hands of the people would definitely be disruptive. But then again, that can't be. And so I want to start off by talking about, I'm going to go real quick, but here, I came across this. I'm not sure how, just strolling, but this is a Texas man, Moses West, who invented a basically says a clean water machine. So this video here is 3 years old, and one common theme I'm noticing is that when these men come out with inventions, it don't last long to where things eventually die down and they're either bought out or things happen. And so here, as you guys can see on the screen here, this is Moses West's invention where if you listen to this machine here can create, like 1,500 gallons within a day, a couple hours of just purely just taking water out. I mean, moisture out the air, turning it into pure, clean drinking water. And I think there's about, 10 or so machines or 12 machines that he's scattered throughout, whatever. But this is technology that could provide clean water to the masses if it was allowed to get out. But long story short, I was trying to find out more updates on this gentleman here. And, he's MIA from the mainstream. So I'm not quite sure what happened, but there's nothing about him right now out there. So that's just, something to be concerned about. But Moses West, more props to you, brother. Keep doing what you're doing. And here's just something else. Inventor of water-powered car died screaming, as you guys can see here. So this is an older video, but, I was trying to find more sources on this, and the internet's been scrubbed. And so as you guys can see here, I take his invention at heart because he's not the only one created, water, hydrogen fuel powered cars. But here's a quote. It says, he estimated that only it took 22 U.S. gallons of water required to travel from Los Angeles to New York. He also claimed that to have replaced the spark plugs with injectors, introducing hydrogen oxygen mixture into the engine cylinder. So once again, but he's no longer the land of the living. But yeah, so Another person who created something that could have transformed the world, but not allowed to get out. Then here's another one. I had to go back on a Wayback Machine to get this article because it was scrubbed. If it wasn't for an alternative site, I wouldn't be able to grab it. But it says, man builds 100 miles per gallon engine using 200-year-old technology. And so this guy here, Josh McDowell, MIA, nowhere on the internet apart from this article that I was able to scrub up. But this is a real story because it was covered in Houston's KHOOU11. And you click on there, Houston's news station, they scrubbed it there as well. So if it wasn't for the Wayback Machine, I wouldn't be able to grab this off Fox. So think about this, getting 100 miles per gallon in your car. That'd be pretty good right now. Technology's there off. This is old tech, him taking the old tech. So it's still there. And then here's another one here. This is the most concerning one because this is some recent stuff where I'm sure everybody's familiar with the guy who basically powered a TV off of air frequency. If I can, but no, it's not there. I'm showing this. But here you go here. So this guy here, the Zimbabwe guy, has technology where this little gadget here powers a flat screen TV. And so this is him, Safe Technologies LLC, and his name is Maxwell. And reason I'm talking about this just because I came across an article earlier today talking about how, as of last month, he was poisoned. And up to now, I'm not quite sure what's happening with him, but he's invented this, and he has several other inventions out here. So this is the most famous one here, where he invents a microsonic, whatever that means, green power machine that generates 50 kilowatts. It can power 10 homes, sharing 5 kilowatts each. The microsonic power generator could be a breakthrough to clean and efficient energy for marginalized communities. So this is the guy here, Maxwell, who's out here inventing stuff. And one thing is unique about him. I was reading his story. He was saying that he received basically a word from God, and he uses a scripture from my book of Isaiah to where he equates that to his gift being able to be dispersed in this type of technology. But here you go. He created his own little drone. He built a car that can get like crazy mileage. And next story. Top Zimbabwe innovator allegedly poisoned, hospitalized. So this was out of last week. And of course, this article is alternative, but it's scrubbed off of Harare. So I had to go back to the time machine to confirm this. And sure enough, the Herald in Harare, Zimbabwe, published it, but they scrapped it. They pulled it off. They put it off the airways as well. So here he is now. And so as of now, it's a month ago. No news, but definitely, it's a bad man there. So hopefully he pulls through. But these are just some stories of things. And then, of course, we know the guy who was killed in the Buffalo shooting. And this is him here talking about his powered cars. And so let me go back to a different video. Oops. But anyway, so this is a guy who was, basically powering his truck off of hydrogen fuel. So, yeah, a lot of people who come out with disruptive tech, things happen. So it's unfortunate, but I want to give a shout out to those people and their families and whatnot, because there's a lot of bad brothers and sisters out there. They got the skills, got the gifts to change the world. And I was thinking about how to strategize and how to, basically, the biggest thing is what I'm realizing, most of those people were going for the pathway of wanting to get some public notoriety via, interviews and things like that. And then they tried to patent it, which is a red flag, because once you try to patent something that is like a no-no for the big, deep state, big oil, big energy, big, governments, automatically they're on to you that way. And so from that moment on, you come over to LLC, you try to do something, and shortly but surely you get your first little news story like all these gentlemen did. And then months, years afterwards, everything goes quiet. So the way to go around that is build a blueprint that shows other people how to do it, and then disperse the blueprint. Get it out there as far and wide as you can. So you'll have, instead of you being the focal point of the project, you put it in the hands of 100 people. You help them take ownership of it to create units, and then have that 100 or so give it to 1,000, let them build units. And so right then and there, without taking credit for it, that's a good way to get that out there. So basically what I'm saying is we got hydrogen fuel cars, and we have a guy who can power, TVs from the air frequency. So energy's in the air, water's in the air, everything we need is in the air. And all of a sudden we got to go through energy companies and go through water companies. So, that truth is going to surface at some point. And there's a lot of people out there who's probably holding on to stuff. Gotta let it go, man. You gotta let it go. Okay. So anyway, enough of me ranting. I got more stuff I could talk about, but I'm not. Let's open the phone lines. Let's just free flow tonight. Have some fun with it. And also for those that are tuned in, if you haven't already, hit that thumbs up button and show your love for the channel. And then also I want to make sure for those that are interested in supporting the channel, I got my Rise and Grind for the King shirt. That's a little bit of my new slogan. Always trying to make sure I keep the king and the kingdom on my mind. So just a way to, shake stuff up a little bit, be proactive and helping put the good word out there. And so if anybody's interested, let me put that on the screen real quick. What I want to do is try to, just basically give people a way to share their faith. And so here, me doing my little pose. So if you go to Rethinking a Dollar store, and I put a little promo code for those that are interested. It's the letters RGK for Rise and Grind for the King. And it's, free shipping. It's not much of a margin on these shirts just because, not really much you can do with shirts. But anyway, just for those that are, my kingdom men and want to represent the king, have at it, just a way to be a blessing to the channel as well as represent your faith if you're interested. So rethinkingthedollar.com store, use RGK, and you can, rep the king. All right, let's talk. Phone lines are open. Let me get my stuff situated here. Let's get this party started. So yeah, feel free to give me a call. Lots of things worth touching on. What are other subjects out there? There's more than enough subjects we can touch on, but I definitely wanted to shine some light on the men that have, used their gifts to try to shine light into the world. And hopefully more people's gifts are able to be utilized so that they can make that difference in the world the way they're called to do so. Because think about it, if we didn't have to rely upon tech companies and energy companies and water companies, we can actually just have somebody create a device, get it to the hands of the public, and people can actually sustain themselves. Wouldn't that be a nice world to live in? It'd be heck of nice. Anyway, let me see here. Mr. Call, give me a call back, get you on here, or highlight at Rethinking a Dollar, and we'll get it going. These has prices are killing us. Gas prices. Mike getting his pimp on. No, man, just posing for a little photo. That's all. I figure what better ambassador than to wear my own gear. And one of the biggest things is in wearing a shirt with a spiritual message on it is that out of everybody I come across, at least one person going to ask me, oh, what that mean? I'm like, oh, okay. What that mean is, and I can go into my whole spiel on sharing with them the message of the kingdom, because that's what we're all called to do. It says Ericsson Mobile partnered with Ericsson to distribute all the 5G. Ericsson has also been funding the terrorist groups. Yeah, like, big companies can get away with anything now because they're cooperating with the government. Barlight Broke says, keep going, Mike. The world needs you. God bless us all. 100% Barlight. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, we all have a purpose. That's for sure. We all have a unique calling that's needed right now. If everybody recognized that they are carrying something and decided to focus on distributing and dispersing it, the world would definitely be a better place. Hello, Carlos. Where we calling from? Hello?
Yes, you can hear me?
Yeah, what's your name? Where you calling from, buddy?
Oh, this is Brian calling from New York City.
Brian, what's going on, man?
Connecticut.
How you doing, boss?
Hey, I've been watching your show for a while, you had some good content, good stuff, and just want to say, first off, keep up the good work, and man, there's a lot of stuff going on. You had my eyes aware and open. A lot of stuff you said from the past actually came to light, and I was like, I really appreciate it, especially with inflation, and especially like with certain things where, the whole concept, the whole idea of how they kind of like use something that was already going to happen as a scapegoat for something that they kind of caused. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like for instance, like the oil prices, you know, they try to blame it on the war with Russia, but it was going. They had that agenda way long before that. You know, event even happened. They were cutting off pipelines. It was becoming how can I say it right? Just shutting down like even power plants and stuff like that. So we completely like hopeless and not even independent as a country. We don't even have factories that produce anything. So that's like, man, it's
It's been a long process to get us to this point where they hollowed out American workers, the manufacturing sector, made us consumption slaves by always having instant access to everything. And now, you know, access to easy credit is not, you know, people are using credit card like never before. As savings go through the floor, and it's like they're literally draining. They're getting the last little bit out of the American public. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, and like now, we definitely gotta like be more wiser with our spending habits and what we, how we consume and how we use debt.
Right. If it ain't producing for you, if it's taking out your pocket, it's not good debt. But if it's putting in, I can understand that a lot better. Hey man. But I appreciate you calling, my friend. Good to hear from you. Thank you. Keep me posted, man. What's going on in your neck of the woods?
All right. Thank you.
Be good. Yeah.
All right. Take care.
Good stuff, people. Good stuff. All right. Let's keep it moving, man. So feel free to give me a call. And of course, there's probably at least 100 or so different angles or topics or subjects, all relevant to, where we're at and where things are heading. So feel free to share your 2 cents. Everybody who's tuning in is an expert in something or has a passion around something that could be a blessing to others. So feel free to have at it, because that's a part of, like, I think, having a unique community such as the ones we have here, where the goal is to, uncover and discover your true self. And that's why, for me personally, like, the more I talk about the spiritual side of things, the more I get fired up, man. And it just really lights a fire under me to where I'm like, man, I gotta be more conscientious of the message I'm focusing on, because I can't keep talking about world events as if like that's gonna make a difference, for me for eternity's sake. But yet, what I'm called to do is, share my faith, share the gospel. And that's where I, eventually I know I'm gonna end up probably solely talking about that, because that's all I can't say that. I mean, that's all I really care about these days. But it's kind of hard to balance that out. Like, I'm in the world, but then again, like, I want to dive deeper in the word so I can uncover the true treasures that are found in Christ Jesus, as the Bible says. Like, anyway, keep it moving. It says, have you ever been to Milford, Texas? Persistent resistance. I have not. I'm not sure if that's for me or not. Let me know. Daryl, what's going on, my man? Hope all is well. Let me see what else we got. Gratitude for the channel. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you. So over on Twitter, I can go back over to Twitter. Like, I was, I had so much fun over there just because, let me check in real time and see what some of the responses have been. So I put out a question, not really expecting too many people to answer. And let me just real quick, I can go through that. And I put a question out there. So here's a little blooper video of Biden just on Jimmy Kimmel, just sounding like he just lost it. I don't know. Check it out if you're interested. Then I play that video there. And let me see here. So I put out there. I put a question out there. Where'd the question go? So here's a question, just out of curiosity. I said, are there any cons to owning Bitcoin? Just pros? Anybody? And so, because a lot of people have been going back and forth with me, and so I got a couple different responses. But on the average, it looks like, according to a majority of the people who are enthusiasts, fundamentalists, or maximists. Those are three different categories that I'm lumping people who look at Bitcoin as the numero uno, the best out of all of them. They're either fundamentalists, or I'm sorry, they're enthusiasts, meaning that they're new to the game. They've been watching a lot of Michael Saylor videos, and now they're pumped up, and they're thinking that it's really like, the head honchos. And then you got the fundamentalists, those people who are a little bit on the techie side. They can give you some X and O's, some ones and twos and threes, because they, probably are mining, themselves. And then you got the maximalists, where they preach the gospel of Satoshi, to where it's like they can, if they get emotional, they get like, defensive. They will like, jokingly, they'll cut you, so like, those type of people in the streets where you get in a confrontation with them, and if they ain't got no real argument point, they get mad and they just want to just cut you. You know what I'm saying? And of course, I'm joking. Believe me, I'm joking 100%. But that's the severity to where I'm starting to experience these emotions out here in the Twitter sphere. And so just being able to go back and forth and engage people and see how deep and how passionate they are or are not in reference to Bitcoin in particular. And I know it's a losing cause because I'm not trying to prove nothing. I don't have nothing to prove. I'm just trying to get people to think about the other side of the coin, because it's, it's all, don't just settle for listening to Michael Saylor on NBC and CBS and thinking that because everything sounds good, it makes sense for the majority, because he's very wise. But, wise men can make fools of themselves when it's not done in the right way. Anyway, that's just my little rant. Hello, Carlos. Where we calling from?
Hey, shalom, brother.
How you doing, boss?
Andre. I'm doing all right.
What's good, man?
From Midland, Texas.
Midland.
Hey, just real quick.
Mhm.
Yes, sir, Midland. The reason people are like that is for Bitcoin is, they've lost. Some people have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, which money is fake anyway, but, they've lost that perceived value. And so they've got to stand by it so that they can try to bolster it up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I really do believe that is, why people are like that. When you're on a sinking ship, if you really believe that somehow you're going to reach land before the sink ship or the ship sinks.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's what some of the people are doing with Bitcoin and other cryptos. I've gotten into some crypto myself, specifically XRP.
Yeah.
I just had a little kind of money to throw at it. But right now, I'm focusing on what Heavenly Father's money is, and that's really gold and silver, precious metals. I'm not giving into my retirement right now. I'm not sowing into anything market-wise other than making sure that I'm, buying gold and silver.
Right.
And, when it comes to, and I haven't heard this said yet, but when it comes to people losing hundreds of thousands of dollars and, in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, in the blink of an eye, when is the last time you ever heard that happen with gold?
Right. It's a constant, like, the price fluctuates in whatever currency you're using to measure that unit of weight in, but yet the metal itself doesn't change. So, but teach his own. I'm trying to find out, because last time I engaged somebody in that little thread I showed, somebody replied to me, said something about, Bitcoin is the best form of sound money. And then my follow-up was, what exactly gives Bitcoin the label as sound? Just because I'm trying to figure that out, to educate me. So they haven't replied back yet, but I'm trying to figure out, how is Bitcoin the best form of sound money? And I'm like, I don't know what the sound part is, because sound money, I can understand how from a metallic standpoint, the sound, actual, audible sound you hear, it was equated to the more money, which everyone at that time knew it was a coin. So that, plays into a little bit of the sound money narrative, but yeah, anyway, so.
I mean, hard assets,
Mhm.
one way or another, that's just sound to me.
Mhm.
A lot of people, especially, in the gospel, will
Mhm.
not endure sound doctrine.
Mm.
So that word sound and that,
Mhm.
the format of thinking when it comes to some sort of something to stand upon,
Right.
you don't have that, with crypto. I
Right.
mean, if people think, and I, we could be going that direction. So
We
that
are. Let's say that
means
we are going that direction. Like when the central banks are excited about central bank digital currencies, like CBDCs is a private ledger. But then again, you got the decentralized stuff, which is open and source and open. They can see everything and it's verifiable. I mean, that's all computer code. So when both sides
that's
excited about computer
why,
code,
yes,
it's like, okay, how different is that? How unique is that? But hey, and I'm saying like this: if you're going to dip and dabble, it's fine. Do you? Because it's a lot of opportunity out here, and there's a lot of good projects that are really disruptive in nature. But not that I wouldn't become one of the people who are preaching a certain coin over everything else, and then saying that everything else is foolish because it's outdated, it's old, it's a rock, it don't yield. I'm like, have a little bit of everything at least. So at least something go down, you'll have something over here. So but it's just that maximalist approach where like Bitcoin or else, like everything else sucks. Get rid of, sell you everything, sell your house, your
yeah,
kids, your dog, and get Bitcoin. I'm like, oh, okay. So that's just my little thing.
yeah,
It's
that's a terrible,
yeah, it's entertaining on my
a
part, man. I'm
terrible,
it's very entertaining to be able to see it because I get a chance to see how people are really taking this and like, and it's borderline. It's because gold and silver, I don't preach it. Like I ain't saying I don't. I'm not looking at gold and silver in the same way that I think a lot of Bitcoiners do, where it's like all or nothing. And for me, it's like gold and silver serves a point, but then again, it's only good up to a certain point. Then after that, it ain't worth nothing to you if you ain't got everything else you need to survive and sustain yourself. So I'm not hanging everything on that either. So, but anyway, man, I go on and on and on.
I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this.
Mhm.
I like I said, I own some crypto.
Mhm.
Okay, but in the long run, when we do go, if the world switches over,
Mhm.
which we all know it's about to,
Mhm.
what's going to end up happening is all these countries who have heavy assets
Mhm.
and hard assets,
Yeah.
they're literally going to have a value that the masses just are not going to have.
Right.
And we can sit around and we can be just as naive as we want to and think all of a sudden that they're trying to help us.
Mhm.
They're going to say, oh, peace, peace. And then there's going to be sudden destruction.
Right.
Well, right now, they're sucking every single aspect
Mhm.
of our wealth out of this nation, out of
Mhm.
America. We're not, this stuff,
Mhm.
I have a mortgage. I have a piece of land that I was going to build another house on
Mhm.
when things settled down.
Yeah.
I've got a little this and a little that by the grace of God. But I'm looking, and my neighbor is trying to sell their house.
Mhm.
It's been sitting on the market for like 50 days. That's unheard of.
Right. And has he lowered the price at all?
The price has been lowered 3 times.
Oh yeah. That's a common theme I'm seeing nowadays. Like people are literally trying to, discount prices. Like, okay, let me get it down and try to get this thing moving. So yeah, that window, I noticed that a lot. When I follow Zillow as much as I can just to see the surrounding areas, and I've witnessed, more, prices where they decrease it just because competition, and as well as not people are not out there really looking and especially in my area as much. But I'm sure Miami and Texas, the boys is flying off the market like that. But it's isolated areas.
Well,
Or yeah, you
here's
admit
the
it. Yeah.
deal.
So what? No.
So, and I'll be honest with
Mhm.
you. There is a lot of inventory on the market in Texas, and my piece of land. Whereas and I think I've lost. I think I lost a little bit because I bought in 2019, but stuff is kind of slowing down,
Mhm.
guys. I can see it.
Yeah.
I mean, here in Midland, we've got a couple kind of hometown lumber yards. Man, the building has slowed to almost just a trickle.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, in Midland, we've got boomtown economics, so everything's kind of hard to see. But I say if it's slowing down in Midland, I mean, the last couple of years, we've built like something like 50,000. Did you hear me? 50,000 new homes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you know, you can start to see this thing slow down. Believe me, it's slowing down. If it's slowing down here, I promise you, it's slowing down everywhere else too.
Yeah.
In Texas, I don't know about Florida, Arizona. They're running out of water. I know that much.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
man,
they're gonna have a whole nother set of issues, man. But hey, appreciate you calling, man. Keep us posted.
I appreciate your content.
For
okay.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Bye bye.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah. So, and that's where, you know, having the ability to connect with different people from around the country to get, you know, the pulse of what's happening in real time in their neck of the woods is priceless. Like, we really, like, you know, when people call in and share what's happening in their local markets, you know, that is the closest thing to what Main Street is really like, rather than news articles. Because I remember seeing some just not long ago, just scrolling through the news and talking about Texas, and the article headline was, you know, Texas is booming, you know, housing markets. And a lot of that had to do with a lot of hedge funds coming in and buying up entire communities. But, you know, they would, you know, they would still paint the picture in relation to the recovery narrative, where they'd like make it thinking housing market is still booming. And of course, every area is different. That's why it's good to hear from people directly, as you know, as to what's happening in their neighborhood or in their city, whatever. Makes it a lot more realistic. All right, let's keep it going, man. What else is going on out there? Where else we got? We still got about 135 people on here. Hopefully you guys have hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already, and showed your boy some love. And anybody else out there who have something on their chest that they want to get off, this is your chance to let your voice be heard. Feel free to give me a call. We go a couple more minutes. JBW says housing market in my area in Florida slowed a bit as well. Okay, Calypso, how you doing? The market crash of a lifetime coming. Prepare. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, so even like that. So preparation, like, you know, it's only so much you can do in accordance to the knowledge you have, to where you can't plan for everything. And that's where, you know, some people can go down that pathway of, like, you know, beginning or starting to feel anxious, or to be over consumed and concerned with the cares of this life, to where it can hinder other aspects of your life, i.e., like, one of the most important things, which has been on my heart, is to continue to get my faith up, like diving into the word more, just because there's, you know, there's just so much spiritual nutrients in there that, and of course, you know, one thing that's odd is when, you know, the one story where the disciples went to go get food, and Jesus had interaction with the woman at the well, and they came back, and the Lord hit them with that, you know, I already had some food. And then they was like, did somebody give him something to eat? And he was like, no, my food is to do the will of my Father. And I'm like, man, I mean, like, how do you take that? How do you take that? Like, you know, we got God here telling us that, you know, his food is to do the will of his Father. I'm like, man, like, we talk about preparing, we think about food, like food. He talking about food in reference to handling the kingdom business. And then that goes into, like, you know, about provision coming through taking care of God's business first. That's one thing that Miles Monroe used to say, that, you know, you take care of God's business first, you better believe he's going to take care of yours. And I'm like, you know, on this side of the camera and mic, talking a lot about world affairs, I have to be careful that I don't get too sucked into all this nonsense, to where I don't realize what I'm really supposed to be doing, which is finding a way to share my faith so that I can get closer into the pathway that is where my blessing is, so that during all this chaos, if I'm in my right lane, I don't think the turbulence that will be all around me will impact me as severely as it will others if I'm in my right lane. And so that has a lot to do with what comes out of my mouth. Like I feel more comfortable and excited talking about biblical things because it reinforces the word, which is renewing my mind as I talk about it. And it's therefore building up my spirit. So it's all interconnected. Anyway, I can go on and on and on. But we got here, it says, S400 says, what do you think about mineral rights as an investment during this crisis and as it means to pay you once the hyperinflation kicks in? So I think, let me see here. So I think I'm not too well versed in that. I know that there's let me see, I interviewed someone who was on what is it called? It was about royalties. That was about royalties. So S400, I'm not too well versed in that, man. And so assuming that mineral rights is in alignment with the royalty companies, then that is something that I'm still learning more about. And I'm thinking like in normal times where equities and companies are able to perform, therefore their stock prices should be relatively something that people would want still. But then again, in the currency that those equities are priced in, as well as all the contracts that are also priced in those same currencies, there's going to be a breach of contract there. You know what I'm saying? Because the ultimate contract is the currency goes belly up. Then all those contracts and agreements and promises to pay also go belly up. So it's like in a Mad Max world, I'm not quite sure what would be a great performing asset other than having possession of real world items, whether it be, some form of land minus the property taxes, which of course government's going to jack the prices up, try to take it from you. And even with the real estate, you know what I'm saying? Like, property taxes, upkeep and all that stuff like that. You can't have 6, 7, 8 houses and expect them all to be, well maintained by other people that will treat your property the way that you would. So you're going to have issues with that as well. So, and that's on some Mad Max type stuff. But once again, the world we could be entering into, no one's ever been in, just because it's not an isolated event. So therefore, there's no prior experience really, other than you got the Zimbabwe's, and Weimar Republic. But once again, those are countries, but all the countries around them were probably in decent shape to where you could just flee or use those countries' currencies to maintain and sustain yourself. But when you got the U.S. going through a crisis, Mexico going through a crisis, Canada going through a crisis, this whole North American continent all going to be in some type of fluctuation because the currencies will go belly up because, lights go off, whatever comes. It's like, there will be no true medium of value other than things that you have in your possession. Metals typically will be a great preservation tool, but then again, pricing them things in chaos will be undiscoverable because you can't price them in a Canadian dollar, you can't price them in a Federal Reserve note, you can't price them in a peso. You're going to have to price it in reference to what you can get when you go to try to exchange it with somebody, trusting that transaction can be mutually agreed upon and safe and secure, because it could be a setup, you know what I'm saying, depending on what's going on. So it's all types of variables, man, that we are not able to predict. We don't know. And that's one thing I'm confident saying, that we don't know what happens beyond tomorrow, nevertheless, a year from now, but then the Holy Spirit does. And I believe, that's why the spiritual essence of things never been more important, because a lot of headache and pain can be spared if you're led by the Spirit. I believe that. But it only comes when you are literally digesting the word like it's your food. That's the ultimate preparation, digesting the word, because from that comes wisdom, insight, and, a lot of opportunity comes that way. Is the Bible their game plan? Rolf, who is there? Who are we referring to? Crises are all self-created. All I have to do is pump or drill for petrol. If you got the tools to do such and the energy to run those tools to get deep down, then you'd be fine. But it takes energy to get energy. Yeah, man. Good stuff. Ross says maybe these guys are setting up the Bible. Yeah, and I don't know. There's a lot of could be, would be, should be's. I just, that's not for me to concern myself with. Like, I'm not going down that pathway of second guessing because the Lord's been too good to me, and it's not hard for me to give credit where credit is due because I know, I'm more than confident in myself in reference to my spiritual journey and what the Lord has done for me and mine. So, yeah, it's yeah, everybody here got a story to tell. House of Cards going to fall. No, 100%. 100%. All right. Well, let's get ready to dial back. As always, I appreciate everybody for blessing me with your time tonight. Hopefully, you guys had a chance to hang out amongst yourself and get a chance to get plugged in. And once again, the invite is always to go to the social media tab beneath here, connect on Telegram, connect on Discord, Twitter, especially if you guys will interact throughout the day, because I'll be having some good back and forth with the crypto community. Just, trying to be that thorn in the flesh to just, irk a couple people, hoping that they'll start questioning things rather than just believe everything and thinking that there's no cons in owning crypto. And I actually put, I put a very good visual aid up and I shared it, but nobody wants to comment on it. But, people who question things, you can't run from it. But anyway, let's close. I just want to get back to just the word of the day. Every day I try to share some word on Twitter and wherever I can, all the social medias. But, this word, man, I was really like, it's like about 2 hours ago, just digesting this word once again, man. It is, man, just something about looking at the word of God, how so much can come from just a single word. Like, as you go. Like I was just saying that over and over again, as you go, as you go. I'm like, isn't it interesting how the 12 disciples he was referring to at that time in this particular scripture, they were getting prepared. They've been trained after following him for approximately 3 years or so, and they were then given instruction. And as you go, and it's like, man, he was sending them out, and he said, "Don't take nothing with you. Don't take gold. Don't take silver." And I'm thinking, like, man, that's like, he's sending these guys out here with nothing, but he's telling them just focus on what you're out here to do. And it was all predicated on saying those words. And I'm like, like that's just, it has to be more to the story. So anyway, let's just pick up. Let's just pick up at that point. Just because I was going back and forth over this, and it's just, man, this is just marvelous. So here we go, 10:7. So, we gave instructions, don't go to the Gentiles or any other town of the Samaritans, go rather to the lost sheep of Israel. And as you go, proclaim this message. Like he was saying, like, make this statement, is quotation, make this statement the focal point of how you engage and interact with people. And I'm like, in today's society, like this is a subject or in a sentence that is not it's not really dived deep into to really extract exactly the importance of this statement, because he said, as you go, say this. But nowadays we say all types of things. We talk about all types of things, but we don't talk about this. And it says, the kingdom of heaven has come near. Like, think about approaching somebody and starting off a conversation in some form of fashion, and then being told that make sure you say that statement. And then from that moment on, all things else fall into place according to how the Spirit leads and what the Spirit does in our person's heart, yada, yada, yada. And then he says here, and this is what having the power and authority that was granted to them when they were told to say this, is that you'll heal the sick, you'll raise the dead, cleanse those who have leprosy, and drive out demons. It's like, man, those are 4 different areas of work that spiritual power is available to do right now to this day. And it's like, man, like they were told to go out and do that. And then it says, freely you have received, freely give. Like, you got this power, you got this authority, you know what to do, you know how to do it. You've got it, you was given to you freely. So you give it away. Like, I'm like, man, like that's just deep. And then it says, do not get any gold or silver or copper or Bitcoin. I had to throw that in there. Don't get any gold or silver or copper or Bitcoin to take with you in your belts or in your digital wallet. Just adding a little something on top. No bag. Don't take no clothes, no shirts, no sandals, no staff, no nothing. Why? For the worker is worth his keep. And I'm leaving it at that. For the worker is worth his keep. He said, go, say this statement, do these things. Don't take nothing with you, no gold, no silver, no Bitcoin, no nothing. Why? Because the worker, you're going to go do work, and the worker, your work itself will bring compensation. It's like, like, wow. Like, so think about this, whether or not we're called to speak and preach directly as a full-time preacher, or if we getting up, going to our day jobs or whatever we're doing, those same instructions can apply to us now. Wherever you go, make that statement a priority in your life, and don't worry about your provisions, because if you're working the way that, those disciples that were first sent out were working, in reference to just saying those words and letting the Spirit do what its Spirit does, provision will come. You know what I'm saying? A worker is worth his wages. Like, you working, you're going to get compensated for that. That's called work. You're working within the kingdom right there. Not right there, man. Man, it's just so much in that. It's just beautiful. It's just, because I'm thinking like, okay, so for my people who are tuned in right now, if you see that scripture the same way that I see it, in a sense, then tomorrow morning when you get up and you go, if you take that statement with you, that statement is simple. The kingdom of heaven has come near. And of course, you got to dive deeper into that. But if make that a part of your conversation somehow, some way, and then just see what the Spirit of God does. And you're working, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're working. So make that a daily habit, or make that a common theme of your life. It's good to say, by you are handling kingdom business officially. And from that, more knowledge, more revelation will be given, and provision will be given to you as well. Like, that's beautiful, man. So with that model, not concept, if you just make that a priority, it's like, the things around you, God's going to handle that. You know what I'm saying? So that's how you can recession proof, depression proof your life, by making sure you're handling kingdom business according to your faith. And that's where I'm at in my faith. But anyway, I go on and on, but I'm not. But anyway, that's just some stuff that really excites me, man. It excites me. But anyway, for those who are still plugged in, appreciate you for blessing me with your time and presence. As I mentioned, for those who are interested, what better way to go than to have, a message that you can share if people ask you questions. Rise and grind for the King. And so that's just, that was my thought process. Like, everything in reference to the kingdom, can be shared in some form of fashion where it opens up a conversation. That's all you need to do. You ain't got to go out and proselytize on the corner with a sign. Just be yourself, present yourself with something that can get people asking questions and say, hey, the kingdom of heaven is here. What you mean? Let me talk to you about, what the Lord has done for me, what the Spirit of God is doing, man. The kingdom, man, there's so much work to be done. People, man, the harvest is ripe. We just need some laborers to go. I know I want to be one of them. Anyway, let me just, for those that are interested, as I mentioned, just to show you what I got going on, man. It's just, one of many things I got coming, to just give people an option, give people the option to be a blessing, as well as to, put some work in. So when you go, you got something to wear. Anyway, for those that are interested, RGK is the little promo code for free shipping. I want to make that available to my supporters here, which you guys are tuned in. But rethinkingdollar.com store, use RGK on checkout, and you guys can, represent the King. Anyway, be blessed, be safe. See you guys tomorrow. Peace. Oh, tomorrow noon, Mike and Mario. Join us then. Peace.